All right, so welcome to the Shrewsbury Soccer Training Channel. Today I'm here with Shawn, how do you say your last name?
Loiseau.
He owns Undisputed Nutrition here in Shrewsbury, Massachusetts. And can you tell us all the NFL teams that you play for?
So when I first came out of college, I ended up going to the Houston Texans. That was my rookie year. I played the preseason with Houston in 2012. I ended up getting cut at the end of training camp after I gotten injured. I was then picked up by the Indianapolis Colts and put on practice squad for the 2012 season, and I ended up being back and forth with the Colts until 2015. My last game in the NFL was Deflategate versus the New England Patriots. Grew up in New England, so always was a Patriots fan, but the Texans and the Colts were the two teams.
And what was your mindset going through high school? So did you always have the hopes and dreams to play in the NFL, or was your focus college and then hopefully for the professionals, or like what was your mindset going through up into that level of play?
So ever since I was little, my goal and my dream since I was 7 years old was to be a professional football player. And growing up, I had always felt like or believed in the fact that you are who you surround yourself with. So I always had a hard time making friends or finding people who had a like-minded personality as me. I made a lot of sacrifices in my life, friendships, going out, doing stuff that was fun, and I found myself working, to try to achieve those goals, whether it was being in the gym, being at a field when no one was there, working on my skills. My father bought me my first bench press set and a weighted sled that I could drag across fields when I was 10 years old. So I've been weight training and training to be a professional athlete ever since I was little. I didn't always know the best ways to train. I didn't always know the best ways to eat, diet, and do supplementation. I learned that too late, and unfortunately for me, my career got cut short in the NFL. I couldn't stay healthy because I didn't train and do the right things. And by the time I figured it out, it was too late. My body started breaking down. So one of my goals for opening Undisputed Nutrition was to be able to teach and educate young people, or be a role model to younger people who had a dream like myself of being a professional athlete, and teaching them all the right and wrong things to do and giving them my best experience that I learned throughout my journey.
And what age would you say, if you had known sooner that what was going to affect you in the professionals, what age would you suggest people to start at a super young age with the peewees, or is there better for in the teenage years, or what would you suggest to someone who is trying to look at that and might be concerned that they're too old or maybe too young?
Well, I know some people will call this crazy, but my son, he's not even 2 years old yet, and I have him in a regimen much like a professional athlete would. Immediately when he wakes up, he eats a high protein meal. He's consistently eating real nutrient food, low glycemic carbs, which would be healthy carbs, oatmeal, rice, sweet potatoes, quinoa. Any naturally sourced carb is the best for athletes. High protein, quality proteins would be anything from steak, chicken, beef, eggs. Lean ground beef, lean ground turkey, lean ground chicken are all great sources of protein. But my son, he is a beast. He's already 30 pounds. But there's no bad time to start doing the right thing, especially through diet and nutrition. Supplementation, I would hold off for athletes and kids until they at least get into high school. For supplements can be anything as far as a multivitamin. The word supplement sometimes scares people. Supplements is just supplementing things into your diet and your routine that you don't get through your food. So there's nothing that replaces real food. Unfortunately, for most of us, it's hard on a daily basis to get all the nutrients, vitamins, everything that we need through eating. Life gets in the way. When I had my kid, Jackson, my life was very busy, and I always was skipping breakfast, and breakfast is the most important meal of the day. So I end up using a protein in the store, one of our most popular proteins. It's called MRE. This is really popular because every ingredient in the MRE is real food. So even for my son, he's not even 2 years old yet, this is his breakfast shake every day. He doesn't know what it is. He thinks it's ice cream. I tell him it's ice cream, but there's nothing in here that hurts him. It's egg whites, grass-fed beef and salmon for the protein, sweet potatoes, yams, and oatmeal for the carbs. And even my doctor has a hard time believing that this is healthy for a kid, but I try to explain to him when I go over my nephew's house, my nephews are eating powdered donuts, Dunkin' Donuts, things that are all artificial. Artificial stuff is not good for kids. It's not good for growth. Kids can be kids and they need to eat stuff, but the younger that you start doing the right things and routining yourself and becoming adept to making good habits, you're going to follow that habit throughout your life. So the longer you take to start doing the right things, the harder it's going to be to adjust to that lifestyle.
And what kind of training mentality do you have through high school? So once you kind of had that and you were kind of prepared, were you spending a lot of time like in the gym, running, and like you had mentioned, you didn't have much of a social life, right? So you're really dedicating your life to trying to prepare for this career. Did you like wake up early, then end late, or what was your training regimen, including sleep patterns?
My lifestyle is not going to be like everybody else's. I was fortunate I grew up on a lake, so for me, a big part of my training, I didn't even know it, was swimming. I was always a guy who woke up at 5 a.m. ever since I was little, and I would always swim. And swimming for cardio is literally, I don't know if anybody who's watching, you know swimming is hard. Try to do a couple laps in the pool without putting your feet down. It's intense. So I would always find myself swimming. I would always find myself running. And I didn't really get into the weights until like 12, 13, 14, where I started getting addicted to the gains that I was getting in the gym. So once I started getting my muscles to pop and my muscles to form, and I started putting some size and strength on, I became addicted to wanting more and more and more. So with the cardio and the swimming and stuff like that, you don't really get the visual benefits that you would get as far as going to the gym, but the cardiovascular benefits and being able to stay lean and healthy, it's all great. And obviously it's perspective based on what sport you play. For me, I was a football guy, so strength was always a big key factor. If you're a soccer athlete, if you're a runner, you don't really care much about putting crazy size and strength on. You want lean, dense muscle that you can do cardio-based activities better. So, I mean, for me, I've always done training. I've always believed in training. It was a great stress reliever for me. Anytime I was going through tough times in my life, I always found myself working out or beating myself down physically so I would feel better. So any type of training is good training. It's all good psychologically for yourself. It's a good stress reliever. It releases endorphins, whether you want to hike, whether you want to run, whether you want to bike, swim, whatever it is for training. There's no wrong age to start. The only age that I would suggest people get into some type of functional training, like as far as with using weights and stuff, I would wait until high school, just because most kids, even if they do have proper form, most kids want to lift heavy because they ego lift. So a lot of kids will find themselves messing up their bodies. You can get hurt really easy if you don't have proper form and you try to lift too heavy. So to get a young kid to understand that form is more important than weight, it's very hard to get a kid to understand that. So it's good to keep kids out of the weight room, I believe, with weight training until they can understand proper form and doing things the right way without hurting themselves.
And of course, training and being prepared in the healthiest as possible is great. However, when you're preparing to go to college and then of course the NFL, how much impact did networking have on your success in getting a scholarship, getting to college, or getting into the NFL and getting scouted? Because for a lot of times, it's very difficult to get in by skill alone.
Right.
So whenever you're trying to network, how big of a role did that play in your success?
That's everything. For me, I mean, it's only been, my last game in the NFL was in 2015. I graduated high school in 2008. And it's 2020 now, and just the advancement that we've had in social media and ways to network and connect, even from when I was in high school, is insane. Not many people use Facebook the way they use Facebook now. There wasn't really Instagram then. There was YouTube, but not like YouTube is now. So for me, being able to network and get my name out there, Massachusetts is not a well-known area where you see a lot of pro athletes come out of. Not even a lot of guys go Division I from here. And I explain all the time, it's all about who you know and where you are. So, for instance, if a kid had my type of athletic ability and was achieving the things that I did on a football field, but say he was in Florida, most Florida high school teams that are good, they're sending 5 or 6 guys Division I every year. So a lot of colleges will go to schools every year because they know they're producing great athletes. Massachusetts is not known for producing great athletes. That's why Division I does not heavily recruit out of Massachusetts. So in order to get your name out there, you either have to be somebody who's breaking records, shattering record book stuff, winning state titles, you're on a state championship team, because losing teams don't get a lot of notoriety. Most of the time it's you have to be on a winning team or you have to be an absolute stud. So for me, I was fortunate we were state champions my senior year, and I had broken every record at my high school. So I only ended up going Division II. I didn't even get a Division I offer. So for me, it was very frustrating. I knew I had the ability and what it took to go Division I, but unfortunately for me, I didn't have the networks and I didn't have the connection, and nobody knew who I was. So I didn't go to many combines or camps. I didn't have the money to attend all those. Combines and camps are great for networking, connecting, but not many kids have that type of financial stability where they can afford to do these things. Not even many kids have the financial stability to afford a trainer or to get the right coaching, but YouTube is free. Anybody can go on YouTube and watch videos or watch motivational stuff or see the right ways to train. Anybody can go and try to network or connect, but the best thing is to try to get into a place or even a facility where if you're not at a high school, if you're not at a place with a coach or anybody who can get you into a network of connection, you need to find a facility or a place where high caliber athletes go to train and try to impress somebody in that building who knows a lot of people. So the biggest advice I have for kids, I wish if I could do one thing different coming out of high school, I wish I had done a PG or a prep school year. So if I hadn't known about it, if I had gone straight out of high school into a PG or a prep school year, it wouldn't have counted towards my college, but I would have went to a place where most kids go, much like myself, who didn't go the level of college football that they wanted, whether they're struggling with grades or got in trouble. So they get one more year to basically do the right thing, grow, and get networked and connected into a Division I school or a high-level school, and then they end up getting recruited because of the network that prep school builds. So if I had done that, I could have went Division I. Obviously, I ended up making the NFL. Despite the path I took the hardest possible path that I could have took to get to the NFL, but just the easier way to do it is just knowing people. So networking is the best way to get your name out there. Any type of social media platform is great. Social media should be used for good things, especially if you're an athlete who wants to get recruited. You have to be very conscious that a lot of people, when they recruit now, they look at your social media. So if you're putting stupid things on your social media, like that you party or you do things that a lot of college teams or high school teams or professional teams don't like, they're going to cross you off the list just because of what you put onto your social media.
So making sure that you're really managing your lifestyle as well as your playing style, because one of the things that we encourage on Shrewsbury Soccer's channels is, make sure you're sending your coaches film. Do you feel like sending people film and the way you play is an effective way to get their attention, or just making phone calls or trying to send emails? Because I know a lot of players they're stressed, especially with COVID-19. How do you think it's going to affect the recruiting process going forward for them? Should they be reaching directly out to these coaches and trying to make that big splash to where they get their attention, or is there some other options that you can think of that would be more beneficial to them, to getting these colleges to look at them now that it's very difficult to even play sports, period?
So obviously we've never seen this before as far as what's going on with the COVID. So for recruiting, it's going to be a totally different mindset, and you're going to have to do things totally different, because if you're not getting the film, if this is your year where you've been sitting behind somebody and this is finally your year to start, a lot of kids are not going to get the recruitment that they deserve or they want. So the best advice that I can give you is on your social media or in ways of networking is, again, try to find somebody who has a great network. If you think that you have what it takes to play at the next level, whether it's college or professional, you need to get with people who know people, and you need to start training. If it's expensive, you just have to ask yourself, what can you sacrifice to afford something like that, to be with somebody who can network you into a place where you can earn a scholarship. So if you think about it, earning a scholarship to play sports, long term you could save yourself hundreds of thousands of dollars. My school at Merrimack College was a $43,000 a year school to go to. I only got a $16,000 scholarship to go to that school. I left school $80,000 in debt. So I was one of the only guys in the NFL locker room who had to pay his student loans every week. Most of these guys who end up going to the NFL are from big Division I schools who go there for free. They leave college and they have no debt. So my biggest advice for you, whether it's $100, a couple $100 a month, whatever you want to pay for a trainer, someone to network you, getting that scholarship and getting that opportunity to play at the next level is going to be worth the couple $100 that you pay long term compared to paying thousands and thousands of dollars for a scholarship opportunity that you could get at an institution.
Awesome. So when it comes to the supplements, and you had mentioned you suggest not starting supplements until high school.
Right.
At what extent should they be looking at supplements? Because whenever a lot of times they don't have someone like you that they can walk into the store and be like, hey, I am this old, at this age, playing this sport, what do you recommend? They have places like GNC or nutritional store where they have a whole variety of brands and maybe someone who's not as experienced. What advice do you give them when trying to vet these supplements, which is good, which is bad, and which is just plain not at the level I need it to be?
So a lot of products in GNC and Vitamin Shop, they carry brands and products that they're not allowed to get in trouble for. So a lot of their stuff is certified, or it's good products, I'm sure, but the people who are selling the products in the store might not be as knowledgeable, unfortunately, as somebody like myself, who I've been at the professional level. I've been with nutritionists. I personally take all these supplements. So for me, I tell people all the time, if you want advice or you want to purchase something, you want to be purchasing it from somebody who has, the mentality and the mindset that they live it as their passion. I never went to school for business, but I love supplements and nutrition. I loved helping people. So this became my business because I really truly loved helping people, but I know the supplement game and I know what supplements work and what supplements don't. It's years of testing, reading labels. Unfortunately, there's some companies who don't really care about the person who's taking the product. They just want to make money. So the filtering process is tough. A lot of supplements you should look for is companies who list every ingredient that's in the product. If you're an athlete, you should look for an NSF certification. NSF means that it's high school, collegiate, and professional athlete approved. Athletes are able to take that without having to worry about failing a drug test. And then other than that, as far as protein powders are concerned, isolate protein powder is one of the best for muscle recovery. It's the fastest to the muscle. You can find isolate protein powder at any supplement store. It's no fat, no sugar, no carbs. I have a bunch of different isolate powders, and then something like an MRE would be a true meal replacement post-workout, anytime during the day, protein recovery, because it has protein and carbs, but all the ingredients come from real food. Another protein powder would be like a mass gainer. They're heavy calories, heavy carbs, heavy protein. That's for somebody who's trying to put weight on. And then you have a protein called casein protein, which is like a nighttime, slow digesting protein that would feed your body while you sleep. So there's a bunch of different proteins on the market. Protein is an essential product that an athlete should use. Another one would be a branched-chain amino acid, which I tell people is like an ice pack for your muscles. So it's electrolytes, hydration, and recovery. You can drink it anytime during the day. Most BCAAs don't have any stimulants, so it doesn't mess with your heart rate, it won't mess with your sleep. There's no side effects as far as helping relieve if you're sore from your training. Most athletes or people in the gym will drink this while they work out. Another product that's good for athletes would be like a multivitamin or a greens powder. Not a lot of athletes get all their nutrients because they unfortunately don't eat all their veggies during the day. So if you're someone like myself who doesn't eat a lot of veggies or fruits, you can substitute that with a greens powder. Most stores will probably have one of those, or a multivitamin. And another good product would be a creatine. One of the best creatines on the market is Concrete Creatine. It's a hydrochloride creatine. There's no bloat, no water retention. It looks like this. Concrete. So
Perfect.
Athletes can use this. This is NSF certified. Any product from this company, Primera Sports, is NSF certified. They do protein, pre-workout, creatine, a bunch of different stuff, and that's something that an athlete could take before your workout. This doesn't mess with your heart rate. There's no stimulants in it. There's no caffeine. This is strictly for natural strength, energy, and endurance and recovery. So any athlete can take this before they run, train, whatever, if you're looking to add size, strength, and endurance. But yeah, those would be just like 4 staple point products just right off the bat that any athlete I would recommend.
All right, awesome. Thank you so much for meeting with us. If there was one thing that you could say to pretty much all students that are trying to, go to college as the professionals, what would be the one advice you can give them to following their dream?
Never give up. Just a quick story that I can give you. My whole life I was told what I couldn't do. So when I was in the NFL, being in the NFL was a dream come true, but once you get there, you realize that your work has just begun. Every day for me, I was not a guy who was a high caliber, high draft pick with a big signing bonus. Unfortunately, in the NFL, there's only 53 roster spots and 32 teams. So, less than 2,000 guys every year on the whole planet Earth get to call themselves an NFL player. So it truly is the best of the best at that level. In order to be an NFL guy, you have thousands and thousands of kids all over the country who are trying to take your spot every day. You have guys who are just cut trying to get back into the NFL. You have veterans who are trying to keep their spot, who are trying to make sure you don't have a spot. So every day for me was crazy psychologically and physically. So for an athlete, if you're trying to play at the next level, you need to realize that both mentally and physically, you need to sharpen yourself. You need to be able to take coaching. You need to realize that you're going to be broken down. But those days that you feel like you can't do anymore, the days that you feel down and you feel depressed and you feel like nobody notices you or you're not doing enough, those are the days that you have to cherish. I used to tell all the time people that I used to practice on fields with nobody in the stands, with dreams of one day playing on an NFL stadium full of people, and I ended up making that dream come true. But my NFL career, I had been cut 5 times. I've only told a few people this story, but one of the times I had got cut, I didn't have an agent. So most NFL guys have an agent who can network you to get your way back into the NFL. And every time I had gotten cut, I ended up just coming home and living on my father's couch, or one of my friends' couches. So I would do that because I hated the fact that I was on a couch, and every morning when I woke up, I hated the situation I was in. So I literally would just live at the gym. I would be in the gym all day long. All I would do was eat, sleep, and basically train. That was it. So every single morning, I would start my morning by writing an email to the Indianapolis Colts, to the general manager. I had his email, and I would explain to him how desperate and hungry I was to have a job and have another opportunity, and how thankful I would be to have another opportunity. For 252 straight days, I never got a response. I never even knew if this guy read the email. I woke up every single morning and started my morning by writing that email. On the 253rd day, I had a call at 7 in the morning from the general manager of the Indianapolis Colts. He said, "Shawn, can you make an 8 a.m. flight?" And I explained to him, I'm like, "Who is this?" He's like, "Shawn, this is Ryan Grigson, the general manager of the Indianapolis Colts." I ended up getting signed by the Indianapolis Colts and brought into his office. And he basically explained to me, he's like, "Every single day I read your email." And he's like, "I want you to bring that same consistency to the locker room. Can you do that?" And he explained to me, he's like, "Shawn, I'm not bringing you here because you're the best athlete. I'm bringing you here because I want guys to feed off that energy. There's a lot of guys who take for granted the situation they're in, who think they don't have to work any harder or do any more. And when a guy like you comes in and they feel pushed, you're the type of energy in the spark that I need in the locker room. So no matter what you think you are as an athlete, you can bring something different to the table, whether you have heart, whether you're somebody who works until their clock shuts off. Don't be somebody who's just obsessed with a highlight film. You need to be able to watch the plays that you're the worst at and be able to take criticism and learn from your mistakes. It's always easy to do the things that you're good at. It's always easy to brag about the things that you're great at. It's not easy to have people tell you what you're bad at. So just always be able to take coaching. Never stop trying to do things that other people don't do. Just because people think it's crazy, just because people laugh at what you think is your dream or your goal. I've been laughed at my whole life, man, and most of the people who laughed at me and told me what I couldn't do, they're still living at home with mom and dad. And, to me, it's all good, man. Like, every person is the same. I don't think I'm better than anybody else. I don't think because I was in the NFL that I've done any more than any other person on the street. I just know at the end of the day, if I'm put on a football field with somebody else, there's nobody who is going to outwork me for 60 minutes. And that was my mindset throughout my whole career. So whatever your mindset is, stick to it. Whatever your goal is, stick to it. Don't let anybody change it.
Thank you so much. If you would like to check out Undisputed, you can go to shopundisputed.com. Can people call in and ask for advice?
So on my Instagram personally is at Shawn Loiseau, spelled SHAWN, and then my last name is LOISEAU. My store Instagram is at Undisputed Nutrition. You guys can DM, you guys can add me, I'll add you back. Any questions you have, you can shoot me a message. I'm on Facebook as well, Undisputed Nutrition or Shawn Loiseau. Message me questions. If you need stuff shipped, I can ship anything in the store, anywhere in the U.S. If you're international, I was telling Dan that we should keep stuff, light. That way it's not as expensive for shipping. So if you need like heavy protein powders or stuff like that, I would suggest just ordering it online. It would be cheaper that way, but I can give you advice. If you want smaller bottles, lighter stuff, it would be cheap to ship, and I can ship anything I got.
All right, fantastic. Thank you so much.
Thank you.